Hollywood built a goddess. But behind the platinum hair, the flawless smile, and the breathless whispers, there were scars. Hidden procedures, secret hospital visits, and surgeries that were never meant to be known. Because the most famous woman in the world wasn't allowed to look human. In the 1950s, image was everything. Studios didn't just manage careers, they manufactured perfection. And no one was more manufactured than Marilyn Monroe. Rumors followed her for decades: a chin implant, a reshaped nose, possible cosmetic corrections hidden beneath studio lighting. But here's the real question. How much of Marilyn was natural, and how much was engineered? Before she was Marilyn Monroe, she was Norma Jean Mortensen, a foster child, anxious, insecure, desperate to be chosen. When she signed with 20th Century Fox, executives didn't see a legend. They saw potential. Potential that needed refinement. Her hair was bleached, her name was changed, her walk was rehearsed, her voice softened into that breathy signature the world would memorize. But the transformation didn't stop at makeup. And what happened next would quietly redefine beauty standards for decades. Early modeling photos tell a different story. Norma Jean's nose appeared slightly wider at the bridge, less sculpted, more natural. By the time she starred in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, her profile looked noticeably refined. Biographers and plastic surgery experts have long speculated she underwent a subtle rhinoplasty in the late 1940s. Nothing dramatic, just enough to make her face camera perfect. At the time, cosmetic surgery wasn't discussed publicly. It was whispered about. Studios feared that admitting surgery would break the illusion. Because Marilyn wasn't supposed to be enhanced. She was supposed to be effortless. Then there's the chin implant theory. In the 1950s, a Beverly Hills plastic surgeon reportedly kept files suggesting Marilyn had a small cartilage implant placed in her chin. Why? To sharpen her jawline under studio lighting. On black and white film, subtle bone structure mattered. Stronger chins balanced soft features. Decades later, medical records surfaced referencing a possible chin augmentation. Years after that, X-rays reportedly showed irregularities. Some believe the implant may have partially dissolved. Others believe it shifted, which might explain subtle changes in her appearance in Some Like It Hot. But none of this was confirmed during her lifetime. Perfection wasn't supposed to require maintenance. In 1950, while filming All About Eve, observers noticed a faint mark near her hairline in certain stills. Some claimed it hinted at minor cosmetic correction. Others dismissed it as lighting. But Hollywood had a system. If something needed fixing, it was fixed quietly. No press releases, no explanations, just retouching and silence. Marilyn's medical history went beyond cosmetic rumors. She endured multiple hospital visits, some linked to endometriosis, some connected to miscarriages during her marriages to Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller. But in that era, women's health wasn't discussed openly, especially not for a global sex symbol. Studios feared vulnerability. They feared headlines that would weaken the fantasy. So records were guarded tightly. By the time she filmed The 7-Year Itch, the world saw flawless symmetry. Softness, balance, radiance. But under harsh studio lights, every contour was calculated, every shadow studied. Hollywood didn't want audiences thinking about surgeons. They wanted magic. And magic often comes with a price. Imagine living inside an image you can't escape. Every pound monitored, every feature critiqued, every flaw magnified. Despite global fame, despite being desired by millions, Marilyn struggled deeply with insecurity. The world saw perfection. She saw imperfections. And whether the surgeries were subtle or significant, the pressure never stopped. When Marilyn Monroe died in 1962, the world mourned a symbol. But symbols don't bleed. They don't recover from procedures. They don't sit alone questioning their reflection. If even the most iconic beauty in Hollywood history felt the need to alter herself, what does that say about the system that built her? And what does it say about us? Marilyn's story isn't just about rumored surgeries. It's about the cost of perfection and the system that demanded it. Because while the public believed they knew everything about Marilyn Monroe, some details were carefully kept out of sight. And decades after her death, new documents would begin to surface. Documents that raised an even more unsettling question. What was Hollywood still trying to protect? But here's the part rarely discussed. Even after her death, the secrecy didn't end. In the decades that followed 1962, private medical documents allegedly linked to Marilyn began to surface. X-rays, doctor notes, surgical references. Some plastic surgeons who reviewed them claimed there was evidence of a small chin implant. Others strongly disagreed. And that disagreement only deepened the mystery. Because confirmation was never the point. Control was. If the most photographed woman in the world required surgical refinement, then perfection wasn't natural. It was constructed. Hollywood in the 1950s operated like a closed system. Studios controlled press access, controlled photographers, controlled gossip columns. If an actress underwent a procedure, the explanation was always simple. Lighting, makeup, weight changes. The narrative never changed. Marilyn Monroe was not just a performer. She was intellectual property, an image valued in the millions. Protecting that image meant protecting the illusion. And illusions require silence. Think about the cultural impact. For generations, women were compared to her. Her face, her body, her symmetry. But if that symmetry was subtly enhanced, then the comparison was never fair to begin with. Modern cosmetic procedures are openly discussed. Celebrities admit to fillers, implants, rhinoplasty. But in Marilyn's era, admission could destroy credibility. Natural beauty was marketable. Engineered beauty was scandalous. So secrecy became strategy. And here's the psychological layer. When a woman becomes the global standard of beauty, she also becomes its prisoner. Every photograph becomes scrutiny. Every film frame becomes analysis. Every public appearance becomes evaluation. That kind of pressure reshapes more than a face. It reshapes a mind. Whether Marilyn's surgeries were minor refinements or something more significant, the deeper truth remains the same. Hollywood demanded perfection, and perfection is rarely effortless. The tragedy isn't that she may have altered her appearance. The tragedy is that she may have felt she needed to. Behind the glamour, behind the iconic white dress moment in The 7-Year Itch, behind the diamonds in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, was a woman navigating impossible expectations. And maybe the real secret wasn't the surgeries. Maybe it was how far Hollywood would go to convince the world she was flawless. Because legends aren't born, they're built. And sometimes, they're rebuilt.